done all the talking for years. So long as she has everything we don't have.
I just wanted to say how wonderful it is to be once again at Suna's home and studio, to see her beautiful artwork, and her home and her gardens are just another expression of her artwork. So I know we'll have a beautiful, successful evening.
The epitome. She's already on top of a mountain. Everest is next.
Tonight's spectacular show.
I'm rolling.
So Lisa and I actually own some of Suna's art, and it's fantastic. It's the most pleasing thing. It's right over my bed, and I get up every morning, and I'm ready to face the world because of Suna's art.
And we have some other paintings close to the entryway that are very bright and cheerful. They're red, and a pair of them together.
I think between Suna's art and Roger's photography, it keeps the world alive.
Hi, Suna.
Hi, Suna. Congratulations. Your art is beautiful and everybody's loving it.
Suna, you are so creative. It is such a pleasure to be here in this gorgeous house, your creation. And all these people here to make a tribute to you. Your style, everything about the uniqueness and the expression of this home and your art is incomparable.
Hi Suna, I'm Kathy State, and I must say, even though I like plein air, turn of the century, I'm very impressed. And you have a painting in the hall that I adore. It's very muted, and it's just one of many that I happen to admire, but that one I adore. So thank you for having me, and it's just a pleasure, and I love your home. It's a great backdrop for all your art. Sorry.
So what do you like about him?
Oh, well, he's an artist.
You know, the colors are really great. I love the colors. And she has a good sense of always bringing in the complementary colors too. Like you got this sort of orangish brown contrasts with the blue. And she has a good eye for color.
Great. First things first, cheers. We're going to have a fun evening tonight. You're going to hear a little bit first from Dr. Guillemin about Suna as an artist. And then we're going to have a panel discussion, but very, very informal, where I'm going to ask some questions of the two panelists tonight, one from Chartist, the other from Winston Art Group, to give you sort of a sense of and an overview of what's happening in the art market and how it affects you as a potential or an existing collector. So I'd like to introduce right now, although he needs no introduction, Dr. Roger Guillemin, who is Nobel laureate in medicine and a distinguished professor. Dr. Guillemin.
Thank you, Elisabeth. Elisabeth von Habsburg, mein Gott, unglaublich. Incroyable, as they say in French. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Suna asked me to say a few words. I will say no more than a few words. I've known Suna for
35 years.
35 years, which is long, long time. And I've always admired her art. I don't like to speak, to talk using words about what can see, what her art in particular. You know, 2 nights ago, thinking of this, I pulled out from my bookcase 3 volumes of the Chronicles of the Salon by, the name escapes me, good Lord, the man who started the Encyclopedia in France, 1786. And it was obvious that all these words really didn't mean anything about looking at these amazing pieces of art. So in many ways, when I look at Suna's paintings, I think of her and her ways of thinking, her poetry, the way she expresses herself, and those paintings I personally like the blues more than anything else, and several of those are really beautiful. I was going to tell you today that being a neuroscientist, I was going to tell you that we now know which part of the brain looks at those things that one enjoys. And I just noticed that there is Jacopo Annese in the audience who knows about it far more than I do, way more than I do. But anyway, it's interesting that we know now a small part of the brain that activates itself when one enjoys looking at something. Strangely enough, and I hope you'll agree with what I'm going to say, it's the same part of the brain which enjoys tastes, smells, and when we look at something that we don't like at all, we don't know which part of the brain is actually involved, but it's a different part. So Giacomo can tell us more about it. So this is a wonderful evening for all of you to be here and see more of Suna's art, acquire some of it, I trust and hope. And, you know, on top of that, I don't know how she managed it, but the weather is so perfect. So now, congratulations even more.
Thank you.
Okay. Where is it?
Thank you, Katya. Now bring it back sort of to the art side. Kimball, what would you suggest to a client, a new collector or a collector of long standing? What are the most important things they should think about when they're buying a work of art?
Well, I just want to say I want to thank Suna first because she's really been a marvelous host, and I really love her artwork, and I want to hear more about the brain. I think that's really quite wonderful. But collectors, whether you're starting out or whether you're well into it, it's very good to get an advisor and to get some independent outside help, which is what we do. We help navigate the art world in a way that aids collectors who want to purchase at auction or purchase from dealers. We negotiate on your behalf, and we make sure that the work that you're buying is maybe the best of that artist's work, or is in very good condition, for instance. And these are all items we make sure that the work gets from the dealer to your house in very good shape. And I think Katya will tell you that often works are damaged because they are put in transit, they're put in boxes, they're put in crates, and not affixed, or you should see some of the things we see. It's absolutely a shame and horrible to lose some of this wonderful artwork. But it does happen, and we try to mitigate those circumstances and try to keep your investments in these artworks current and fresh and valuable.
Katya, what coverages are important for clients to have when they're buying art, and can you give us any kind of case studies that would be of interest to the crowd here?
Okay, so if you're out shopping for a fine art insurance policy, and that would be the number one thing, most people assume that, or they may think that their art collections and their wine is covered under their homeowner's policy.
If you didn't hear that, the question is there a dollar cutoff above which you should insure a work of art or a bottle of wine or whatever?
Okay, that's a good question. I would say the answer is different for everybody. For one person, a $200 bottle of wine is going to be a really big loss. For another person, a $2,000 bottle of wine is going to be a really big loss. So that's really relative. I would say our smallest, we insure pieces of jewelry for $325. It's so personal, but I think it's all about suffering that loss and wanting to be made whole. And maybe you can say, okay, the $325 ring, if I lose that, that's okay. But what happens if there's, if you have a theft, or if there's a water damage, or if there's a fire, and you suffer a more substantial loss to the rest of your collection? So it's number one, it's about your risk tolerance level and your comfort level, and really what number is important to you.
Okay, and I have one question for Kimball. Kimball, why would anyone go to you to help them buy something?
Your charm, your know-how.
All of that too. But at Winston, we are independent art advisors. We're independent of dealers. We're independent of auction houses, and we align ourselves with your interests as collectors. So we want to get the best deal for you. We do take a small percentage, or we often work on a percentage of the value that we save you going into a deal. So a dealer has something for $100,000, we get it for 80 for you, and then we take a small percentage of that money that we save you. And we also work by the hour to do appraisals. But it certainly is worthwhile. We do condition reports, and we make sure that you're getting what is being advertised as the thing for sale, and that the thing is the best possible thing at your price level that you can be buying. And we're happy to advise at all levels. We often get calls from people, and they say, I think I made a mistake, but I just bought this thing. And we go, oh boy, I think maybe you did make a mistake, but we'll see if we can get you out of it. And we also do that too. So any aspect of the art world that needs navigating, we think we can help you.
I just wanted to say a couple of words about the fact that there are now in museums like the Metropolitan, like a few other places in the world, paintings made with computers. And whether it's done with a computer and your electronic pen, or with a brush or 1,000 brushes on canvas, we can now, with the computer, get paintings of any size you want, literally, not only on paper like the classic lithographs, but also on canvas. And I repeat, one of my big paintings was at the Biennale in Venice in '97 or so. This is now a new mean of producing art, which I think is to be considered.
How do you get them insured? Are they insured at the same level?
Yes, they're insured for their value. Yes. And there's a whole group of young people making art based on the computer. But in San Diego here, you had an early practitioner of this art. His name was Harold Cohen. He was a professor at the University of California, San Diego, and he was one of the first people that attached a computer to a paintbrush and created, with a computer algorithm, a beautiful, he was a stunning artist, absolutely wonderful work of art. And I don't know whether he's had a show here recently, but he's a marvelous artist.
I think Rosé is extremely modest, talking about the computer art. He is one of the pioneer of digital painting. Was started in 1987-8, and when the Macintosh was introduced, and Rosé was started as a scientist. He was experimenting with these brushes, obviously on computer. So he's one of the actual real pioneer in digital art.
Can you comment on the ArtPrice databases, which are the best and which will also capture the dealer market?
The question is, which of the online art indices are the best, and which ones capture the retail market? I can answer the last part of it. None of them capture the retail market. You need to have good friends in the retail market to call if you need to find out what things are sold for, because they're often not published, the prices. You can find out what they're asking, but you have to know them to find out what they actually sold for.
And so what we're talking about is basically big databases out there, and there are several of them. There's ArtNet, which is one that is used a lot. There's ArtPrice, and there are several others. And these places record sales at auction, at public auction, so they're a public record of artworks being sold. They are up to the minute, most of them, so you can find out what happened at Christie's last night or 2 days ago. Those are used by all of the professional people and collectors quite often and regularly. And it's worth checking on them if you are going to make a big purchase or just call us.
I just want to make one comment on it's along the same lines, art indexes. There's a lot of talk about art indices and tracking your art and increasing the value of your art alongside an index. We have gift bags for you to take when you leave by the front door. And we want to thank again Suna so much for having us all here. And we're all here to answer any questions you have, so please do feel free to ask any questions. Thank you all so very much.